Hi everybody, I'm Victoria from Cosy and Country, here in partnership with Cosy Owl, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do a layered candle using a bubble ball container. So let's get going.
So running through what I've got, I have 800 grams of paraffin container wax, my bubble ball container. These are the dyes I'm going to be using. I've gone for yellow and cream. These are my wicks, my wick centering tool, and the glue dots to stick my wick down. I have 50 ml of sherbet lemon fragrance oil, my melting pots, and my electric weighing scale. Now, to measure out my wax into each pot, I had to do a little bit of maths. So I knew that I was going to do around 6 layers in my container. So that meant that I had to divide the wax up into each pot. So I had to divide up 185 grams of wax into each pot, and then I later worked out how much I needed to pour each time I did my layers. So I'll just get those measured out. Once that's done, pop your first pot onto a medium heat and just keep coming back to it and giving it a good stir. In the meantime, while it's melting, I'll show you how to pop your wick in the bottom of your container. So take your wick and glue dot, peel off one side of your glue dot and stick it to the base of the wick just here, nice and central, and make sure it's stuck down so it's not going to peel off. Then peel off the other side and pop it as central as possible into the container. Once you've got it nice and central, just make sure it's fully stuck to the bottom of the container using your fingers, and then take your wick centering tool, get it nice and central into the container, and then pull it taut and stick it through, and then it'll be nice and stuck in place. Now we've melted one pot, I'm gonna just make sure that the temperature's okay. Now I want my temperature to be somewhere around 65 degrees before I start adding my dye. So I'm just going to double check the temperature here and make sure that we are up to the right temperature. If it's too hot, then I will take the melting pot off the heat just for now and give it about 5 minutes to cool, and then I'll come back to it and double check the temperature. After leaving my wax to cool for around 5–10 minutes, I have come back, double checked the temperature, and it's time to pop my first colour in. So the first colour that I'm going to use is cream. So I'm going to use around 1 gram here. It's only a small measurement of wax, so I don't want to put too much dye in there because they are quite strong dyes. So I'll just pop around 1 gram in this first pot, and then I'll stick it down, put it away, and then I can give it a really good stir. If it's not melting properly, just pop it back on the heat just for a couple of minutes while it melts through. But mine's nice and hot, so it melts all the way through, just how I needed it. My dye's melted. I've popped my melter on top of my electric weighing scale, and I'm going to measure out 15 millilitres of my fragrance oil. That works out with just less than 10% for the wax ratio here. So that should still be a nice high scent throw, but not too much, and it won't be overwhelming. So I'll just give that a really good stir through on here. Here I've just popped my wax back onto a low heat just so that it gives me the chance to give it a really good stir through with the fragrance oil and the wax won't cool down too much. So once you're ready, I'm going to pop my container onto my electric weighing scale. And for each layer, I've worked out that I need to do around 64 grams of each layer. So that's what I'm going to pour onto my first one. And you want to be pouring your wax anywhere between 55 and 60 degrees. You don't want it to be going any hotter than that because you do run the risk of any frosting on the outside of your container. And then once you have poured your first layer, you want to leave it for around half an hour just to set and make sure that it's ready for the next pour. In the meantime, I'm going to get on with melting my next pot for the next colour. So my next colour is going to be yellow, and I'm just going to let this one melt all the way through and just do the same process as I have done with the previous one. So I'll get all my dye measured out here, give it a good mix up, and then it'll be time to add my fragrance and then ready for the next pour. So So my first layer has set completely, so I'm going to do another 64 grams of my next layer, which is yellow. And then just keep repeating the process for each layer. Your wax will set inside the melting pot, but don't worry, you can keep remelting it. Just keep an eye on your temperatures and try not to let it exceed the 55 to 60 degree mark, because you don't want to run the risk of your fragrance oil evaporating if it gets too hot. Now I'm on to my final layer. So I'll pour this final layer just here, and I'm pouring it nice and cool, so it's around 55 degrees here. And then I'm going to leave it overnight just to set properly, and then that means I can come back the next morning, have a good check over. Each layer is looking really good, nice and even, and then I can just remove my wick centering tool just here, and then I'll get my wick trimmers and I'll trim my wick to around 5 millimeters. So an educated guess just here. That's around 5 millimeters just there, and as you can see, it comes straight off, and there you go. Your candle is complete. It's nice and smooth on the top, and your layers are nice and even.